Just me tonight in the studio. We do have a guest, though. Don't worry. You don't have to be alarmed that you're going to have to hear an hour of Eric Clark talking about shenanigans and nonsense and bullshit. But let's get this thing started. Let's go. We're a little late. It's my fault. So here we are.
This is the Okayest Hunter podcast. Never pass on shooter bucks, because that's just meat in the freezer. It's your tag, you hunt how you want. This is Okayest Hunter.
What's going on, everybody? This is the Okayest Hunter podcast. If you're new to the show, welcome. And if you're a longtime listener, welcome back. And if you're new or a long-time listener, we do have a phone number you can call into every week while we're doing this thing live. Typically, it's 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Every now and again, we find ways to mess things up technically, or just life gets in the way. Like when I try to do a phone upgrade before a podcast, or my kid has to go to urgent care, and all at once that happens, and I'm out of comms completely. So my wife's trying to text me and call me, and nothing's happening. I'm leaving our poor guest Kevin hanging in the wind. Derek's not here. He's busy with school stuff. The school year's starting. He's a teacher, so he's got all that going on. And Greg is in Florida this week for work. I haven't seen Greg in like a month or two. I'm pretty sure he still exists. He is a real human. He is still involved. He's just super busy, and he's still finding time to do the Okayest Fisher podcast with Matt. So God bless all that is good about Greg Tubbs. He is highly revered in the podcast and deer hunting and fishing and outdoorsman community. But anyway, I want to just do a couple housekeeping things real fast. We are brought to you by Nosler. I happen to have their shirt on tonight, which I really enjoy. This. I just like the simple brown Nosler shirt. I really do like it. They have a bunch of new designs they just released, but this one's my favorite, which is why I have it. And yeah, go to Nosler.com and you can buy their ammo for quite a steal with our discount code of 20% off using code OHP. And by the way, our code works on all our partners. OHP is the code. We demand that from them. They oblige. And so if you go to Latitude or Spartan Forge or Rack Hub or Muck or Bear Archery, you'll get a redemption with that OHP code at checkout. Latitude just dropped their new Lone Star saddle, and previous to that, right before that, they dropped their Maverick saddle, which I have yet to try out, which I feel bad that I haven't. Life's been a little bit more crazy than I can anticipate or like deal with, apparently. Nonetheless, I've touched it and seen it, and I did put it on. It's pretty great, just from the look and feel of it out of the box. The Lone Star has lots of fun bells and whistles and looks like the most comfortable thing I've probably ever seen from a saddle. So anyway, really cool stuff coming from those guys. Again, use code OHP at checkout, save yourself some money. Same thing for Rack Hub, and yeah, Muck Boot too. Like lots of good stuff. And for the Spartan Forge one, we had Bill on a couple weeks ago. It's a good episode. If you want to watch it, you can watch it on our Spotify or on our YouTube. If you're on like Apple Podcasts, you can listen or whatever. But it's a good episode, a very good explanation of everything. And with all that, all of our partners are very gracious and generous. And I would be lying if I wasn't a little bit jealous of how much they're giving to give away at Foam Fest. So I think we're close to like $6 or $7 grand worth of product that we're giving away at Foam Fest. Foam Fest is our 3D archery event for those that don't know. And if you're in the Midwest and you want to make a trek up to Wisconsin, it's August 31st. You can register for the event at our website, okayesthunter.com. Click on the About tab, and under that, there's an Events tab, and you can register. That gets you donuts, coffee in the morning, lunch in the afternoon, and whatever's left for dinner. So you also get a free drink ticket and a free raffle ticket with that, and that allows you to shoot the course. Beyond that, raffle ticket-wise, you can put in for whatever, but it's quite a bit. We're getting stuff from all sorts of partners that we work with actively that support the podcast. Like Latitude's giving away a kit and a saddle kit and some sticks. Spartan Forge is giving away 6 months free. Rack Hub's giving away their RH1 and RH2, plus a bunch of merch from their sister partner company. shed season. Nosler's giving away an ammunition package and some swag. Muck's giving 20% off to everyone in attendance, plus a free pair of boots to the winner of the raffle. We have more from other folks that we're just friendly with. Kafari sending 3 different packs. The Rogan pack. Tacticam sent us 4 different Tacticam cell cams, the 3.0s, the X and the X Pro. I mean, I'm forgetting stuff, guys. But it's short of it just being a good time, family friendly, a kid shed hunt, coloring books, and kid youth bows to shoot at targets. The ability to try stuff in trees and lob arrows at targets from the saddles and platforms. It's really a fun event, very low key. You don't have to shoot it to attend. You can bring the kids and the wife. It's come one, come all. The more, the merrier. It's a pretty low key event, and there's a chance to win some cool stuff. Like Bear Archery is giving away the 2 bows again. So they've in the last this year plus the last 2, they will have given away 6 bows through this event, which is really gracious and cool and speaks to their mantra of trying to get a bow in everyone's hands. So yeah, that's a little bit of that. I will stop talking about that shit and let's bring Kevin on because he's been waiting long enough. Kevin, thanks for being so patient, buddy.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's one of my few good personality traits is I'm very patient.
Oh, it's nice. I think I can be patient, but I don't feel patient. Like I get angry when I'm impatient.
I think you're probably a patient person. You think it takes patience to own and operate a business, and you do such. So I'm sure you have some patience. I see how you discredit yourself in the intro. We're just okay over here.
Yeah,
it's not really the case. You guys are doing great. I'm glad to have a guy like you in my corner and be fighting in the ring for deer hunting for years to come with guys like you. I mean, I've been a big fan for a long time. You and I have been connected for quite some time. It's a pleasure to be here this evening.
Yeah, we did this roughly a year ago, oddly enough. So we just must be on the same cycle, like a couple of girls hanging out, we just are on the we just get the feels and go, I think it's about that time to do this again. And lo and behold, I looked at the calendar. It was about a year ago. So here we are.
There's a podcast on the Whitetail University podcast, and it's back. They did it a few months ago. It's specifically about deer sign and scrapes, and they were talking about the bucks hitting these scrapes, actually signaling a final signal to the does in the area to go in estrus that the bucks are ready. They're ready, and the value on the communication between or at those locations, between that was of real importance in the breeding cycle. Really interesting thing to hear from the side of like some scientific evaluation on deer herds and things. Valuable information if you're a deer hunter, something to go back and listen to.
The intricacies of deer blow my mind. There's not something I'm not learning about these creatures any given day of the year. For example, today, this is some of these things are very obvious. It's like, oh, of course that makes sense, but I hadn't thought of it yet. And what it was, one of our writers wrote an article about mosquitoes and how like we as hunters battle them in the early season, and they'll drive a lot of people insane out of the woods and to miss deer because they're swatting bugs and not sitting still. But then he offered up another perspective. He's like, do you think deer like getting bit by mosquitoes too? They don't. They can tolerate it better than we can because they're in it. But like if they have an opportunity to get out of the dense, thick, nasty swamp where the bugs are just hammering down, they might go into an open, breezy field with the sun beating on them or in the shade to get away from the bugs. And I'm like, interesting. That seems obvious. Of course, they wouldn't want to get bothered by bugs, but I thought their ability to tolerate it was so great that it wouldn't matter. But also, if they have a choice, wouldn't they choose to not be bitten by bugs as much as they also choose to travel the path of least resistance, much like us humans do?
Yeah.
So I thought that was, again, there's just always something to learn about these damn animals.
I grew up in a huge marsh, like one of the biggest the largest freshwater delta in the entire world is where I grew up, and vast marsh. And if you want to see mosquitoes and bugs, I can show you mosquitoes and bugs. And yeah, I will validate that for sure. Deer will come out of the woods. If you try to go in the woods in July, and heaven forbid it's been raining and it's like humid and there's no breeze really, like you will be swarmed by mosquitoes, and those things are trying to rest and relax and they're just getting swarmed and bit and like it's got to be terrible, right? So we'd watch them come out into the fields, and I would assume that that's exactly what it's for, is for bug relief.
Yeah, one might think it's food or what have you, but also, yeah, I think the bug relief things, the density of bugs in some of those populations, parts of the woods, forest, swamp, whatever, are thicker than in some of the others. And
Yeah.
yeah, you can get me out
Oh,
of there
yeah.
fast, man. Fuck
Dude,
that.
where I live now, I can be out and about in the evenings and do things, and we I don't even we put bug spray on maybe 4th of July weekend or stuff because we were down at some other people's house, but we live on top of a hill and have a pretty good breeze constantly, and I don't
Mhm.
have a bunch of mature trees in my yard, and we don't have like we don't have 1/3 of the mosquitoes, or probably less than that. We don't have 3%. We probably have 3% of the mosquitoes that we had at where we used to live. And so it's definitely a big deal. I got the doors open. When you were saying about swatting bugs, it's funny because I got these like little gnats, fruit gnats or whatever, that are flying around, but I got all my windows and doors open. It was 47 degrees this morning when I walked outside. I had my heat and cool off, and it was 63-ish in my house. We had a few windows out open overnight. So this morning I officially turned the heat on and heated the house back up to like 66 degrees. And by the time the sun came up and everything, we opened the house up, and it's been open all day, but had my heat on this morning. So, that's pretty, let's look at these bugs. Do you see what I'm going through here?
Dude, the topic couldn't be more on the mosquito or something on the camera.
There are these little fruit gnats that are flying around there. I don't have mosquitoes sit out here, but I got fruit gnats and I got all kinds of other bugs. But stuff's changing right now, man. Stuff up here, underfoliage is already starting to fade out a little bit, and I've seen some sickly trees and some unhealthy trees that are turning their leaves pretty vibrant right now. They're going to dump off pretty quick and save the resources to try to survive the winter. But we're not too far away from like that whole big show starting up, and when that gets rolling, sometimes it can be hard to operate in modern day civilization, and we're only maybe a month away, from that happening.
Yeah, it happens early for you. Probably you're in the upper part of, not
Yeah,
upper Michigan, but the upper part of
a little
Michigan
bit.
State. Um, uh, the mosquito thing's interesting for just 2 minutes because I think it's relevant. People can relate. We all fucking hate it. We,
This
have
segment of the podcast is brought to you by Thermacell.
shit. It may be, they've never reached out, but I feel like it'd be a decent fit. They have
Just saying,
enough.
Thermacell. If you know, Thermacells work, but not when you're moving around. And they got some. They're not perfect, but they do work. But yes, mosquitoes
Yeah, yeah.
brought
Once
to
you're
you by Thermacell.
stationary, my advice is get that thing cranked on your way in. So by the time you're sitting, it's all heated up and cranking out that good stuff.
Oh
But
yeah.
I've been doing the permethrin, spraying my clothes down ahead of time with that. I think that's helped. Even I think it has a scent to it though. However, I do have a shopping cart full right now on my web browser for First Light because they did their 40% off. So I'm just kind of hovering over, wondering what I'm going to buy or when I'm going to buy or how much it's going to be. But their new synthetics, much like a lot of companies, Sitka included, have this fabric interwoven bug repellent stuff just baked into the underlayer. And from the reviews that I've read and from the anecdotal, conversations I've had with people, it sounds like that shit works pretty damn good. And I'm pretty intrigued by it because there's nothing I hate more than mosquitoes that'll ruin a good time in any environment, let alone deer hunting. I'm If I don't buy anything else from that, which I have a lot in my cart, that my wife probably should have brick if she saw the price tag on, I I might just get that stuff. They have the synthetic merino base layer shit. And I'm just wondering if anyone listening has a comment or a call about it, or you yourself, Kevin, what your bug regiment is early season, because we get so damn excited about this. And what we do is we forget that when we ended the season, it was blustery cold winter, and we think that that's what we're getting into because that's our last memory of it, or the beautiful fall. And then early season comes around, it's still greened up quite a bit, and the bugs are prevalent. It could be the middle of October and you're still having these 80-degree days with mosquitoes everywhere, and you're like, shit, this is miserable. You forget about it. So anything to reduce that is, I'm curious what other people do.
Man, I got a hot tip on this one, dude.
All right.
Like for real. I came across the company years ago called Cedar Side, like pesticide, but cedar side.
Mm-hmm.
And they make a cedar oil bug repellent product out of Texas and distribute it. And they sent me a bunch of it because I had reached out to them about their product, and I had the podcast, and that was basically the end of our business relationship. I reached out to them. They sent me a bunch of it. It was probably 4 or 5 years ago. They sent a lot of it, and thankfully they did, because we're yet to run out of it. And I swear by that stuff. Like when you were talking about permethrin, I don't really trust that stuff. I don't really want to wear clothes that are sprayed in that personally. Like I I I don't know.
It's a
I got
nerve.
that stuff here.
Yeah.
Read the label and all this and that. And I'm like, but I don't like to have ticks on me either. And I'll tell you, we started, and one of the reasons my wife liked this product is you can spray the pets with it. So you can just
Hmm.
coat the pets with it. You can coat the kids with it. It's a natural product. It's cedar oil. And I'm telling you, we went out one weekend as a family, and I think we had, 4 or 5 or 6 ticks on us collectively between the dog and the kids and my wife and me. Another
Mhm.
family who was out on a property that was a little distance away. And I know that can matter a whole lot, but they were in the relative same area. They had something like 60 plus ticks on them. And that's when I started to pay attention to it. I already knew that it worked for mosquitoes, but for ticks, also, it seems like it works pretty dang good,
Hmm.
because I spray down with it when I'm going into the woods, and it's not during the season. And then dude, it's enjoyable. It's cedar oil. It smells good. I'm not like a try to hide my wind guy. So it's really not a problem for me. It's like putting on some deer hunting cologne that keeps pests away, but it's just cedar oil. They have with like lemongrass and a couple other things, and now I'm saying that out loud. It does sound kind of foo-foo,
It's all right. You're a foo-foo
but
kind
it
of guy.
but it but it smells good, and it really seems well. I was mowing the lawn about a month back, and over where I do have some shrubs and a lot of shade, I went over there to take a leak, and I got swarmed by mosquitoes. So I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh shit." I'm like, "Well, I want to see if I spray myself down with that and come back. Like, is it in my head, or does this stuff actually work, right? Because I know I'm getting swarmed by mosquitoes right now. I'm gonna go in the garage, spray down, and I'm gonna walk right back here." I walked back. The mosquitoes swarmed me, but then pretty quickly just backed off. And then within a minute, the mosquitoes weren't swarming me. There wasn't mosquitoes around me. And I'm like, fuck me. It's not in my head. Sorry. I forget what the language code is here.
Oh, it's I just mark it explicit. Most of our shows are explicit.
I've been trying to purposely cut down on my cuss words.
I've been trying to also, and I just can't get there all the way. I don't know what it is.
Sometimes you just properly placed. I mean, I was when I did that, I was like, God, mosquitoes are such a pest, and this product actually seems to um, really help out a lot, and it seems to keep ticks down. And so Cedar Side, they've changed the packaging, but the product is still available. And I'm telling you, as a deer hunter or somebody that likes to spend a bunch of time in the woods or around bugs, I wouldn't, I don't go places with my family to do things where I think there's going to be bugs and not have that and a thermocell and another thermocell on the ready. Cause yeah, I am not about, and and I'll end this and I'll hand it back over to you about early season and avoiding the bugs. Eric, I won't go. I'm not that guy. Like, I'm not chomping at the bit to go sit out in the woods and get tore up by bugs. If there's a good breeze, or I know somewhere I can, but if I'm going to get just like absolutely destroyed, to me, I'd rather just wait a little bit and let things until a couple cool mornings happen, because I don't know, man. I know that I'm going to hunt through the season, and I love late season, so there's going to be a lot of deer hunting for me. I really don't have to plow into it super hard. So if it's a day where I think in a place that I'm going to get tore up by bugs, first of all, if it's kind of that warm where I think I'm going to get tore up by bugs, I'll probably go to the beach with my family or do something on the boat. I have a 75-degree rule. I don't do deer hunting stuff if it's above 75 degrees. I don't do scouting. I don't do deer hunting. If it's above 75 degrees, that's like beach, boat, fish, other things outdoors. Once it goes below 75 degrees, then I'll accept doing deer hunting things.
I like that rule. That's good. That would keep my FOMO at bay. I just get I get
It eliminates you from a lot of what a lot of people are doing. I could tell you that.
Yeah, and it's not even the other people thing. I just wanna be in the woods because 'cause I'm like, "This could be the day." Like, I just think every hunt could be the hunt, and therefore, then I feel like I need to be in the woods all the time, which is like a psychotic problem because it
Well,
gnaws at me.
opening day is really exciting too. I mean, I don't want to deny that, but it's just as a veteran move for me to know where to my time and energy goes and what I actually really enjoy. I'd rather
Mhm.
have those extra hours to pack into late October and early November than go out there and get tore up by bugs, dude. I'd rather go out there in single digits in a snowstorm. I would actually enjoy that. Like single digits and some snow, and I'm going in with a muzzle loader. That's what kind of what I
Yeah,
live
anytime
for.
there's not mosquitoes is more enjoyable than any time with mosquitoes. It's just God, I
Yeah.
hate those things, man. I don't know what they make me fucking go crazy. I got a tattoo on my back. It's not a tramp stamp, I promise. It's in between my shoulder blades. I remember getting that thing. It's the only tattoo I have. It was so painful that and I'm a little bitch apparently, but I was, like, bleeding. I was pretty hungover. Um, and the dude giving me the tattoo is, like, the nicest guy in the world, and, he's like, "Oh, do you like is it painful? Do you need me to take a break?" I was like, "If you fucking stop, I will punch you in the face. Get it done. Get it done." I turn to the crabbiest human ever. It's the same level of crabby when I'm around those mosquitoes, and then I'm like, "God, I've just ruined the deer woods for myself. Why did I do this? I know better." But every year I forget, and every year I get excited, and every year not every year, but I've learned over time now that I'm kinda more like what you're saying where I'm like, I don't I don't think I'm gonna do any good in the early season. I don't have anything patterned. I don't typically use trail cams. I don't have any reconnaissance in. I usually go out and bank on the rut to the best of my ability and scout my way in, and, I've had a lot of luck with that, and the early season has not been good to me. I haven't seen shit, done shit, nothing to talk about, write home about, and not to mention, I sure as shit don't wanna quarter up a deer or gut a deer and drag it in that heat either. Like, then you're compromising the meat potentially, so, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of talking myself out of early season, maybe intentionally.
Well, you got a young family too, and that shit flies by. It really does. Your kids are young and then they're not young. It happens real quick. You know, you can default to like, what should I do with my time tonight? It's not like a terrible decision to just say, I'm gonna not go get destroyed by mosquitoes and be uncomfortable and not have fun and just hang out with my kids. And I don't know. I always say be an asset to my household because when I flip the switch, when it gets fully flipped, when the leaves start really, when they're fully turned and they start coming off the trees, when the leaves start coming off the trees, that's my that's my hard line right then and there. When the leaves start coming off the trees and through that process to long when they're gone, that's that's when I would pick my window to hunt. So not being able to see 20 yards in the woods and getting tore up by mosquitoes and hunting maybe this food source, like I'd rather go out there and just have the time in the fall to hunt a funnel, be able to sit till 10:30 in the morning. That's the other thing. I like morning hunts, and
Mm,
I do believe early season it's evening hunts are more predictable, advantageous. I've had great morning hunts early season. I mean, and anything can happen with whitetails for sure. But I don't know. For me, I don't. Yeah, like go slamming in there. It's not a. Uh, I don't lose sleep over that.
yeah, some guys do, it depends on the day, I suppose. If that first cold front hits and I start to get going, I start to get a
That's
little cold.
different.
I'm
That
like, I need to be out there.
now you're
Cold.
now you're throwing serious hitches in my giddy up. And yeah, if like a huge cold front hit like opening day or maybe it wasn't opening day, maybe it was like October 4th, but there was a big cold front. Yeah,
Huge
you caught
shit.
me. You caught me red-handed. Yeah, I'd be excited. I'd be excited.
Right.
But that plays into my bug thing. Remember what I told you about the temperature dependency thing? My scale like
Yeah.
fluctuates there.
Yeah,
If
that's
I
right.
know if I know that there's not gonna be bugs, I might think about going. But it's that big of a factor for me. I got harassed, growing up as a child, until adulthood by bugs so bad that it's like a hard out for me, man.
Yeah. I remember one early season I went and hunted a swamp bottom with some buddies, and I'd convince them to go, and they're not big hunters. They still aren't. They gun hunt, and that's kind of what I did. I was trying to get them into archery, and we all left the woods pretty quick and went to Denny's and got breakfast. Like it didn't work. And I think I ruined it for them. I think they're like, I'm never doing bow hunting again. I was like, no, 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 that's not indicative of what it is, guys. Trust me. You got to come out late season. And like, I think they're still to this day pretty mad at me for that. It wasn't a good outcome. I was trying to suffer through it as like some badass hunter too at the time. Like, oh, I got to show these guys, like, don't be some pansy. You got to deal with it. And then it just got so bad. I was like, I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I couldn't get out of the woods fast enough once I made my decision. And they were like, thank God. Oh, thank God. We thought we were going to have to suffer all day, you psycho.
Oh,
That was,
yeah, no. Uh-uh.
that was a while ago.
Yep, nope.
Uh,
If I think I'm gonna go out there and get tore up by mosquitoes, I'll pretty much kinda stay out of the woods. It helps me be more focused with my time and when I go and when I do things and whatnot. And I've gone on walkabouts in July and just walked some stuff and do some hiking trails. So maybe I'm doing things, but I'm not. Yeah, hunting in it, sitting in it, getting tore up by bugs. It's just I don't know. It's just doesn't get me excited. I don't know what my microphone's picking up. Well, now I can hear an ambulance or a fire truck or something like
I hear a
way
couple
off in the.
hawks. Sounds soothing. I like the nature I'm getting through. I'm not hearing sirens, but um, you know,
Okay, good. Yeah, that just happened. Yeah, I got some blue jays going and some crows flying by, and I was wondering if it was picking the audio up.
yeah, nothing too bad. Nothing doesn't add to the ambiance of the show and the fact this is a hunting podcast.
An ambulance. Yeah, hell yeah. No, it's really real.
Ambient,
You
ambulance,
can't
yeah.
hear that?
No,
Yeah, well, it's pretty quiet around my place, except for my kids running around. But my other one kid's inside, and the other kid's down the street playing with some kids. So it's pretty quiet around here right now.
it's kind of nice. Might get loud at my house, but we'll see. I just got a text from my wife that she had to take my son to the ER, so grandma's here. So
What?
grandma just stepped in. Went from urgent care to the ER real quick. So
What's going on there?
he's got some breathing issues. He's got some pretty severe asthma that's treated, and doesn't matter how well we treat it. He always ends up in the ER for like the nebulizer stuff and steroids, and then it creates an opposite problem where now the breathing's under control. However, steroids turn him into the Incredible Hulk. So then we got to deal with a kid that's on steroids for the next 48 hours,
Oh my god, Jesus!
which complicates everything. Yeah, I mean, kid 4-year-old can't regulate themselves that well. So when he gets all this, he's like freaks out, and it's just we're glad he's okay. But then it's like, here we go, steroid Dane. This is just we've been through this so many times. That's why I'm very even keeled about it. This is not new. I'm just happy it's not happening at 2 in the morning like it usually does. So
Oh,
yeah,
so yeah, like albuterol and things of that
we got
nature.
everything.
Obviously, he's
Got,
got a.
got it all. We got it all. Doesn't I don't know
Yeah,
what it
I've
is.
always had asthma.
His what is
Like
it,
my whole
blood
life.
oxygen
I
level
kind
or
of.
is oh yeah, dude, I had asthma growing up and outgrew it too. I forced myself out. I fucking would go on 10-mile runs and puke because I was determined to not be
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
still
didn't want
I keep an inhaler. I keep an inhaler with me when I travel still. It's not often that I use it. I might not use the thing but a handful of times a year, but if I need it, I'm kind of like I need it.
it's interesting. No, my kids got it bad, and I had it, so I understand it. I totally can relate and sympathize or empathize with it. But yeah, not good. It's not good at all. His oxygen levels will drop so far. I forget what it is. There's like I forget what the thing is. We put on his finger to measure, and it's like if it usually gets down to like below a 90 sometimes. Then I see like, and so what happens is if that goes on for so long, his heart ends up working so hard that eventually it could lead to failure because it's like it's not that's going to happen right now, but it could happen in the next couple hours or something because it's been happening for so long. It's wild. So yeah. Anyway, I kind of want to hear about. I know we talked about DH3, your synthetic scrape system, your 3-part system. Obviously, when you're on a year ago, but I'm curious to hear how things have progressed and changed and evolved inside of that last year and where you're at today with it. And if you can break down the 3-part system and like how does a deer hunter podcast, the deer hunting podcast host get into making a synthetic scrape system? Like how did that journey come to fruition? What was the spark?
Yeah, sure. We'll talk all
I
about
asked a lot.
that.
I did a lot. I do the 10 questions in one packet. Sorry. So you can kind of
No,
unpack.
yeah, no, that's great. It'll kind of walk us through into right now what's going on and what I'm doing. So, but yeah, first I'll just say, yeah, I hope that your kid is able to get all that stuff worked out. And yeah, I think the older you get, the stronger your lungs get, the more durable that's. And you said you kind of had to deal with it. I had to deal with it. So hopefully you can just push that shit through and be good to go, right?
One would hope, man. I appreciate the kind words. Well, I'm just keep my so if you see me looking at my phone, that's why I'm just staying frosty with what's going on. So
Yeah, no, if you need to bail out of here, you just absolutely say so. But you already said, call and collect. We got it. Good to go. Okay. Scrapes, the synthetic scent. I I, I don't think lure. What's I think it would if you asked for its pronouns, a deer lure, maybe one of them.
yeah.
It may identify as a deer lure. It may identify as a cover scent, but it is a synthetic, um,
Yeah, you don't have a deer
synthetic
farm where
recreation.
you're not collecting deer pee from real deer, you know. There are people that do that, by the way. That is a thing. Like there's people that collect piss from the dominant buck of the herd on their deer farm, and
Yeah.
then they freeze that, sell that, and it's like pretty interesting. I remember learning. I'm taking over the question I asked you, but I want you to speak to this if you can. One dude was like, if you lay down a dominant buck piss scent, whatever, strategically, and you do it early season into mid into late into rut, it almost shows the other deer that this deer is not. It didn't just appear out of fucking thin air, and it's been in this area for a while, so it carries a little bit more stake or like weight in the deer herd's mind of that area, that locale. Um, so I want to hear about your recommendations about application, like how early should you start doing it and so forth.
How early should you start doing it? I think the best thing to do is to get it going in the spring. Really, I think you can go in and bug thing. I don't like the bugs, so I'll go as soon as the snow's gone, and I'll do a huge portion of my whole year's worth of work on my spring preparation. A lot of that's done too. I said I like to be out there during the late season. A lot of my late season is spent scouting. I hunt 25% of the time. I scout 75% of the time in the late season because a lot of times there's snow on the ground. Pretty much, well, huge majority of people are done,
Yeah,
and you can kind of see what happened in real time. So, coming into when green up is, I like to be done and have the pretty much my plan placed for the fall. So, but part of what I'll do in the spring is find kill spots essentially. So, if you look at it from the position of being a trapper, you're you're setting a trap for a whitetail. So, the scrape is your foothold trap. And you're going to get a deer to put his feet in that trap or her to put her feet in that trap. And instead of the trap closing, you're putting an arrow through that deer or piece of lead, rifle, shotgun, you name it. However, whatever. But when they step in that square foot of dirt, 2 square foot of dirt, 3 square foot of dirt, however you want to set this thing up. That's it. Boom, you got them. You could set a camera up on that trap. It could just be a camera trap, but the ultimate is to have it be a camera trap and a kill trap. So you can have a tree prep, you can have multiple trees prep at that location for a little bit of a different entry or wind variance. And I don't even know that it should be legal, but you can monitor with a cell. And if you have it in an area that's dense enough where deer are bedded in or around, and it's under cover, and they feel confident that they can move in and out of it during the daylight, once the rut gets going, I mean, it's just absolutely lethal. It's like real estate. The spot is the most valuable thing. People put a lot of emphasis on how they're set up and use a rope, use this branch, this height, this, that. That's all like what is the tile and what's the carpet and what's the paint colors. Like the important part is where's the house? What neighborhood is it in? So that's like numero uno. That's a new word or number.
Don't make me do numbers in a different language. It'll look like I'm passing a kidney stone.
Hashtag Latinx. So the real estate is the most important thing, and then the details down and past that. But yeah, you can set these up. And I grew up hunting bait, so we'd hunt over bait, but you have to replenish bait so the deer know you're coming in and out. So they know that you're doing it. They're tipped off on that. If you have a pre-hung stand, they know where it is. They come there at night. They smell around. They smell where you went in. They'll backtrack you. If you're hunting bait, the deer will backtrack you. They'll come in. They'll eat at night under the cover of darkness, and then they'll get brazen and they'll start to move around and they'll come right to your tree. I've sat in there. They'll come right to your tree and they'll smell up your stick or your bag or whatever's going on down there. And then they'll either blow and take off, or they'll take your track and start walking it back. And it's like they know that this didn't just show up. Like they're monitoring you off 75 to 100 yards off a bait with their ears, monitor somebody coming in and out. Say somebody's coming in and out on a truck or a buggy or a four-wheeler or whatever. They'll be within earshot so that they can hear that and pick up on that pattern. And I've seen this from trying to do different ways to go in and out and run baits and running cameras over them, but the deer always know that something's going on. But the value of a scrape is that you don't have to go in there and you don't have to replenish it. So that's why we call our product the branch catalyst, is because we're trying to catalyze an already event that's going to happen, right? We're just trying to accelerate, add a catalyst, fuel to the fire. So accelerate a process that's already going to take place. And that's what that product was developed to do. And that's what it will do. You can put it out in front of a camera and watch for yourself. You make a scrape, you put the product on there, and deer will show up on it pretty quickly. Some guys see it within, 45 minutes. I think that's the timestamp right now. Somebody building one, spraying it down, walking away, and within 45 minutes they had deer on it, So I said I was going to try to beat that this year. So I threw some cameras up in the backyard, and I've been taking when I clean my tanks out, I have big buckets. I've been throwing it into the trees, so it'll blow down, and I think I'll get the record. We'll find out and see. The camera will say or not say, but so it's nice because the scrape is at a known distance. When you set these spots up, it's one of the biggest challenges as a bow hunter is to know distance, like in the time, in the hunt, different sites, adjustables, range finders, range finding sites. It's a huge thing just to know the distance, right? Well, you already know the distance. You already set your tree up. You've already been up it, what your distance is to that trap, to that scrape. And when that deer steps in it, you know the exact distance. You've practiced that distance from that elevation, and you're as lethal of a deer hunter that possibly exists right now. And you can hunt does that way, young bucks that way, and you can hunt the biggest buck in the woods that way. So if you're a deer hunter that just likes to deer hunt, but you're like me, you're like always keeping big deer in mind. But sometimes you're like, I don't know, that's 20 yards and she's looking away from me broadside. I have like a little switch thing in my head that maybe is misprogrammed, or I don't know what but I'm like a laser pointer in front of a kitten. You just like turn that thing on and start putting it in front of me, and I'm like, oh, no, So I don't know if there's an opportunity to lethally kill a deer. We eat a lot of deer meat, so I try to shoot. I shot 4 deer this year. That was gone real fast. It was gone before the snow was even gone. So we're thinking this year we need 6 deer for our household. And that might not sound like a ton, but to go out and actually shoot, retrieve, process, get in the freezer, 6 deer, maybe one of them's a buck, and now you have some taxidermy at some level to deal with, be it even a euro or a skull mount. It really is a lot of resources and a lot of time. So I try to be effective and efficient with it, and I'll have some of these set up just off 2 tracks and real roads and real easy access for meat extraction, and then some of them are set up for like, this is the spot for this week. This is the spot for November 5th to November 10th. From November 5th to November 10th, proven history through cameras through multiple years. This one's the spot, man. And so, but if the wind's wrong, the wind's wrong on those days. So maybe it's not the spot, but you got 3 or 4 or 5 of those now. Hunting gets real fun real fast.
Yeah, I forget
That's my
how
pitch.
obsessed I've become about the wind and the weather and just looking at cold fronts and direction and knowing which spots are favorable for which winds and where the deer are theoretically bending. And it just starts to become such a fun chess game. So the branch catalyst, it brings them in somewhat of a controlled manner. Like you could be creating a new desire path for these animals to be walking or traversing, whether entry or exit to an area, because you're alluring them in to a way that maybe they would have crossed, but, like, at some point, once the deer start working this thing, it becomes self-sustaining. Like, at some point, the product wears down, breaks down, wears off, and then what's left is all the actual deer sign, and that kinda self-sustains and keeps these animals coming back to communicate through that scrape system. Um,
Yeah.
is that sound accurate to some degree? Like, you have a higher probability or likelihood of bringing a
Yeah.
deer through an area if you use your product than if you don't use your product.
Oh, well, so our system's a 3-part system. The f This is important to clarify,
Yes,
is part
yes,
1
yeah,
is
no, just
education.
go after, yep.
3-part system. Part 1 is education, so that overrules my product. You being informed about how to use this or any other product or any other manner or thing that you'd wanna try. People oftentimes urinating, taking a leak.
Yeah,
I talked to a friend
Derek called it, me pee.
I talked to a friend yesterday, and they were talking about peeing on a scrape, and real seriously. And I was like, "Huh, I didn't know." Great, but one of my friends that's a really serious deer hunter, she's out there, dude, like taking leaks on her scrapes. So I was like, "Huh, okay, right on, party on. Let's, is that the most cost-effective way? Yeah, I mean, it probably is, right? And there's a nice little credibility there for establishing your dominance. Like, maybe you do wanna give her a little squirt or 2, like, just to assert dominance and just to forewarn them that, like, "Hey, I'm gonna come in here and kill you," or at least try to. Um, but yeah, no, there is a better approach, when people were talking about, like, people messaged me, said that their dad would hold them up when they were little, and so that you could pee in the branches to get the scent up. And I got a great laugh out of that, and I said, "Well, we have advanced just a touch, a little bit in technology, however, that is a great method, and I would work." If you don't wanna go that route, and, like I said, I started kinda looking through this trapping portal a little bit, and those people are very detailed and use specific scents and do very purposeful scent regimen. Like, to a really detailed, like surgical level. And so I was like, why not kind of take those practices and apply that here? So the education portion of it is of the most importance. And when you were asking, I don't know how you asked about like where and how to, you're not really trying to
The idea so
drive.
far.
Yeah, you're not. I'm not gonna incentivize you to try to like put it on a field that you don't know deer are coming to and like let it go downwind and bring. It's be like if you had a coffee chain where you would put a store up. So put a store up at a busy corner at an intersection. If there's not already a store there, put one up. If there is a store there, buy it up, take it over, and you can take an existing scrape, clean that up. You can add certain branches that will add a ton of value. You can add an oak branch. You can add a pine branch. You can add a combination of both of those with just a couple simple zip ties. Because a lot of times some of the best licking branches are gone. They're gone. They haven't been there for 20 years because they got broken off and nobody else has found them. But you reestablish those are the good ones that are like you can kind of go in there and then be like, oh, okay, I could see how this and why isn't there one here? Oh, the branches are it's a pine tree and they got snapped off and broke off, and you can rebuild that. And nobody's hunted that in, I don't in decades, never. I don't know. Some of these big woods areas are like oftentimes I just feel like no one's sat here. No one's hunted this. No one's hunted here. And I think that's plausible. I like finding remnants of old time. Sometimes I'll be way out in the middle of nowhere, Eric, and I'll get up in a tree or something. I'll be like, no one's ever sat here. And I'll get like 20 foot up and there's a nail in it. And I'm like, God,
I just had that when
they
I was
were
scouting
here.
with Derek. I was like, oh, I think we're in a new spot, dude. And then sure as shit, there's a lockbox on a tree, no trail cam in it. And then these screwed in steps that had obviously been there for some time. The tree's kind of grown over a little bit. I'm like, fuck. Well, we're wrong. They're not here now, but they've been here. And I'm like, they're in the tree that I would have picked. So like, I bet you they killed some deer from this tree. Like, I bet you this tree has taken some deer. It's taken some
Yeah.
light for sure. Isn't a good spot.
So
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to hear.
sometimes just reestablishing that branch will, it's like putting a new roof on a building. You can't have like an operation building without a roof on it. So sometimes that's what you need to do. Sometimes you need to put up a new location. And yeah, I don't know. A lot of changes with the woods and properties and things. So travel patterns do change over time. And so there's always like a moving opportunity to kind of go to a different place and find a different thing. But I like having a target to shoot at. I like knowing that deer is going to maybe stop and monkey around for a minute and be distracted. The nice thing about the oak branch is if you take an oak branch at the end of summer, go cut one right now and take it and just throw it in, whatever, off the side of your driveway. Let it dry out for a couple days. The reason you do that is because if you go put it up green and the acorns are on it and stuff, it's like it's hard to adjust your height because the thing is so heavy. So you'll set it at one height, it'll dry out over the course of a week or whatever, and it'll be 2 foot difference because all
Hmm.
that water is in the leaves when you cut it green. So you cut it green and you throw it in whatever next to your house or on your deck or whatever for a week or 10 days, and you let that thing go pretty good brown. And then you take it and you go zip tie it up on an existing licking branch, or you add it in as a licking branch, and you can do 2 or 3 of them. You want a good leaf mass. It's awesome if you can get a little curtain, essentially, have some wide coverage. Here's why I'm getting at this. You can spray that scent all up in this thing, and now it's become basically like this big sponge versus just an empty stick. They'll use an empty stick. They put their scent down, they rely on that, and their senses are so good that they can use that to communicate. But if they have a bigger thing that holds more scent, you can set this thing up with these oak leaves. And the beauty of it is that they'll literally come and just jam their face up in it and rub all their scent in it, and they can't see or hear anything. you're a bow hunter and you know that they're at 20 yards and they can't see or hear anything. It's like
that's
the
where
perfect.
that's good.
It's like
Yeah.
the perfect trap, man. Um,
The one
and
spot
the oak leaves. I just have to add this: the oak leaves will stay on all year. And some of the ones I did last year, I swear 80%, 75% of the leaves are still on from last year. The oak leaves will stay on there. So when everything else is gone in the winter and everything's bare sticks, this thing is still this little pod of scent. And man, if you stay out of it and have good entry and exit, and heaven forbid, monitor it with a cell cam.
Yeah, I have a spot where we set up so admittedly, and I think I texted this to you. It was last week Tuesday. We went out and hung 2 cell cams, and it was just such a mad dash that between getting the canoe on the car and meeting Derek and trying to get back into all this stuff, just I I just forgot. And it wasn't until we were out there, I was like, shit, I forgot. And I was like, I'm genuinely looking forward to using it, like straight up. And I was pissed that I forgot it for that reason mostly. And then also because I was like, nah, I feel like I'm doing Kevin a disservice here at this point. Cause I'm going to get back out there. But the one spot we have a cam set up, it's only 2 on public land, whatever. But there is no overhang at all. We kicked up some dirt, made a scrape. I can see deer checking it out. They're stopping, and now that some have done it, I see others doing it. Lots of
Sure.
does. Um, nothing spectacular. Buck wise, had a good bachelor group come through a different spot, but there is a tree that I could theoretically, get some zip ties and get a branch over to that spot, and that could be interesting because the kill tree is not far off from that particular spot. Not that I would hunt over a cell cam and all that stuff. But it's just interesting, and it's something I hadn't considered. Again, learning new stuff actively right
You can
now.
be honest. What if a 210?
Yeah, I would just have to think about it. Like that's where this cell cam gives me wind direction,
210.
temperature.
210 typical.
I could 210s. Yeah, I hear you.
210
I'm not.
typical. He shows up, and you're like,
I'm not.
you know what? Because of my moral integrity.
I just look,
Stop.
man. I've said this so much. The whole cell cam debate that like even if I was quote unquote hunting over a cell cam, to some degree of like ridiculousness where I'm waiting for it to like a tip up, that I'm watching from my lake house. If I had one, I don't. Uh,
Mm.
Even if I was to that degree, I promise you, I would still find a way to fuck that up. And those deer at that age class are so freaking smart. Like, good luck. But looking at the direction they're traversing into the scrape, where their ears are, where they're looking, the wind direction, those are all things that I hadn't considered as a younger hunter that I'm not piecing together now. Oh, they came from this direction. I know they came off the food because that's the direction of the bean field. If the wind is this direction, I know that I need to be mindful of. Well, I just start to piece it together. This is kind of fun. Like, I'm really enjoying it. And I got a coyote on my cell cam 2 nights ago. I'm looking at that with the kids. I got one of I put this one cell cam in a potentially a pretty bad spot. It's like there's a branch coming right out in front of it, and I'm getting a lot of bird activity, which I think I got a hawk on it today. Which is I'm like, wow, I kind of like the bird activity here. This is great. There's a fucking hawk. That's pretty cool. So it keeps me entertained. I just like seeing pictures of shit. I don't really care what it is. But no, like. So I was glassing a field nearby where I am going to be hunting, not a huntable area, but in the general vicinity. And I describe this as I'm going somewhere with this. I describe this as anytime you're watching a hunting show and they're like, maybe they're glassing a field or maybe they have a buck in sights and it's like, oh, there's a buck coming. And it's all good. It's like a, nice 8 or a basket rack 6. And then you see the big guy and the beat drops and the music gets serious. I was glassing this field and this big guy put his head up, and I'm not shitting you, man. It was, and I've been around enough deer long enough now. I've seen enough shit. It was minimum 170 inches. It had velvet on it, so like maybe I'm misconstruing the size of this thing. It was fucking colossal. The beat dropped and shit got serious. And I was like, if there's even a fraction of iota that this thing even meanders anywhere near the realm of where I can fucking legally hunt on public land, I'm just enthused to have known that there's a buck of this caliber in the area, let alone a swing at him. So I'm just dying for the day he shows up on one of my 2 cell cams. And it's very early still, so there's a lot of time, and I'm a rut hunter, so, like, I have lots of time for this to come to fruition. By golly, if it happens, man, I'm gonna be just just super enthused even had an eye on him in any capacity, just so I can show the guys that I was correct in my estimation of the size of this deer. Anyway, the beat drops, right? That's all. I don't know why the fuck I was talking about that, but if that 200-inch deer comes by or whatever, the beat's dropping, it'll get the heart thumping. You know, might have a little chubby going on, and some choices will have to be made. But knowing what we do, like I'm no CJ Alexander. Shit's gonna be by the book. Like if there's a buck like that, you're gonna have to make sure you can. It's like a crime scene. You got to bring the DR in and show him exactly. This is the property line. Here's where I was. Here's how it happened. Like I'm gonna show you every single detail down to the finest detail of exactly how it all transpired. Because heaven forbid if that happens to anybody where they're discredited for some stupid reason. You know, I never want that to be me
Yeah.
ever. Not even close. Mainly because I hate guilt. I can't deal with it. I'm a terrible liar, and I can't touch guilt with a 10-foot pole. So I won't find myself in that situation.
Yeah, I've done a pretty good job of removing myself from the ability to have deer go across property lines, but there is some situations, some spots that I hunt that's still a possibility, a couple a year. But for the most part, yeah, because I grew up hunting that way. You know, deer runs over here, runs over there. It's a huge deal. And yeah, if you shoot a big deer, it's a real big deal. Yeah, no, boy, that stuff always made
See
me
the
so
headline.
uncomfortable. I couldn't even imagine being in that situation with some big animal. It is a luxury that I am afforded. That most of the areas that I hunt, I I don't have to worry about follow a deer for sometimes and not cross
Yeah, you're in big woods
anything that
country.
I can't.
I just can't imagine the headline, "OK's hunter shoots record class buck." Like, I'm just waiting for the day that that can be a headline just so I can say it was a thing. Otherwise, I don't really give a shit. I'll
Well,
probably shoot another 8 point.
I dude, I always say I'm hunting for the trophy state record, but I'm gonna shoot most of the deer that come in front of me before it does.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We know who we are. I live in reality. I'm not delusional. I know that I have no time to be in the woods. I've not done any of the homework like Derek has or Greg has. Although Greg's
yeah.
more my book this year with his work schedule. He's not done shit. So, he's more in my
Well,
opinion.
part of the value, like I said, and part of the reason you asked, like, why did I create it? Maybe,
Yeah. Yeah.
one was out of frustration from just decades everything and having mixed best results. Like I have played around with everything for years, every little trick, every little scent, every little try, 308's trail in, drag the thing in, uh, you know, tie it off, just you name it, every little thing. And I'll be honest with you, even if none of it worked, I don't regret any of it. I had fun playing
I
around and messing with that stuff. And especially as a young deer hunter, dude, like you thinking you got like the hot thing. I got the acorn scent,
got
dude.
the
It's
edge
got the
up on
little
you.
pop top. You putting it all over the stump and you go back and sit with your bow. You don't even have like a peep sight. That shit, dude, is what got me excited, and I thought it was just fun. And it's one of those things that I remember, I remember being at deer camp as a pretty young. I think I was 14 the camp
Yeah.
because they you had to be 14. Did I lose you?
No,
No,
I'm here, man. I'm
you're
here.
good.
Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah, they did a little screenshot thing said connecting. So I was 14, I was fairly young. And one of my buddies, he's a grandfather type. His grandfather's up there, and he was one of the founders of the camp, and he brings back this special. He got it from this local place, basically a back alley deal with a guy at a bar, like selling Ziploc bags of deer lure, like powder.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, this is like
No,
a yeah, it reminds me of like some of my trips to Canada. But it wasn't Canada. It was a Northern Michigan deer camp, and Grandpa Jack, in the back alley behind the bar, and he brings it back and it's this apple stuff, and the guy tells him just sprinkle these bags out, and the deer will come running, basically. And
that's
those guys were, I was pretty young, like I said, and they were putting it out on the table and like says, this is like putting it out on the table. He was treating everybody to like get a little bit of a smell of it and see. It was this aromatic apple smell. And Grandpa Jack goes, I'm 82 years old, but that makes my dick really hard. And I was pretty young, I was like 14, and this grandpa said this, and I was just like, this is very powerful stuff right now, so I went out in the morning, dude, and I sprinkled that stuff all along the edge of my blind, and I'm just sitting there basically with my gun, because I think the deer are going to come running.
yeah,
And that didn't happen.
yeah.
It didn't happen. So I was like, I graduated through, played around with everything up until an adult with cameras and with mixed results at best. And it led us kind of finally to where we are to making our own product.
That's great, man. And so I was going to try to do a link share of the OKS Trapper podcast. That's what that screenshot was.
Nice.
I now don't know where that screenshot got saved on my computer, and my phone's still doing download transfer shit. So heaven forbid I can't find the damn photo on my phone either to make the little code to go listen. But Zach Hansen is the host of that show, and he won't admit it, but he's a pretty smart fella. And like John Hopkins, and worked for the State Department, and does all kinds of cool shit. I think he sold a company, he worked on IBM in the AI industry, artificial intelligence, and did a lot of crazy shit. And sold it all, picked up from Virginia, and just moved to the bottom of the Sawtooth Mountain in Idaho, and is trapping, and runs a trap line every day or whatever, however often he runs the trap line and all that stuff. And it's really quite interesting. And hearing you talk about the essence of trapping and how that kind of like, you're going to get an animal's foot caught in a trap out of the whole fucking forest. You better be thinking about some things, like you said, the sturgeon. And it's a really cool. You might really enjoy it. It's like getting in a DeLorean and going back in time to hear like how they go about this stuff. It's really quite fascinating, honestly. So I mean, for that's all worth. I don't know. I think it's really kind of cool, and I felt compelled to mention.
Yeah, I like it. You scale down a rifle hunt to a shotgun or muzzleloader hunt, and then you scale a shotgun or muzzleloader hunt down to down to a traditional bow hunt, and then you can scale that down to you're decreasing your yardage on everything, right? You're like getting more and more. You're dropping out your kill radius, 100 yards, 50 yards, 25 yards, down to 1 yard. 1 yard. My kill radius is 1 yard. I'm going to put that deer right here. And I know the distance, and I've set up my spots already. And, you don't have to monitor them with any camera. Just have it in a spot that historically is great, and set it up right. Have good entry. Like my buddy Joe says, like, if all your work gets done on your entry, if you get in there and the deer don't know it, he said the rest is up to God because you've done everything that you can do. If you get in there quiet and the rest is like everything else, that's it. But if you bust everything up going in there, you're done. That's your detail. Your detail is to get in there unannounced. So if you can set these up and have the deer running them, know that it's a seasonally good location, and get in there unannounced, you're going to be successful. You're going to be consistently successful, and you can set them up in a lot of different manners. It's fun. You set the camera up, you set your trees up, you have different ones for different wind directions, and sometimes I just like hunting different spots. Sometimes I do. Maybe it's windy and I do want to hunt a swamp edge down low in topography, but maybe it's not windy. Maybe it's going to be still, and I know it's going to be a nice sunset, and I want to hunt a piece of topography. I'll oftentimes base my sits on geographical location and what I just want to watch all night. Maybe tonight, a bunch of country. Maybe tonight I want to have everything right in because
color,
it's
man.
quiet.
I get pretty romantic about just being in nature, and yeah, I'm not a known buck killer. That's not my MO. My MO is to take really beautiful videos of leaves blown in the trees. That's why our Instagram is full of these really serene shots, because half the time I'm just
I
in there
love leaves.
photographing and videoing shit. Like, I love it. My buddy Tyler, who runs a business with me, he's like, "Man, I got to do a better job of just taking some like B-roll footage out there. Apparently, you have how much do you have?" I was like, "Dude, that's endless, it's endless." And all I got to do is put some Zach Bryan in the background and some snippy quote, and it's fucking great because you can feel it. It's like gets you right in the feels every time. Yeah, yeah. It just I try to capture because I really like the essence of it, man. You know, and I have an iPhone, and you can go on your iPhone. I'm sure you can do this on Android too. I don't really know because I don't have one, but you can go into your album, and in your albums, you can click on a map, and on the map, you can see all the places you've taken photos. I'll zoom into a place that I know I hunt frequently and look at all the photos I took from that spot. I fucking love that. There's a spot that I hunt out in the western part of the state that's got this beautiful waterfall. I don't think very many people even know it exists because it's not on a path. The only way you get to it is by going through some fucking buckthorn, nasty, terrible shit up and down ravines and hills and steep, you know, grades and terrain. And you get to this thing, and there's this beautiful trout stream with this really serene waterfall. It's one of my favorite
Jeez,
places in the country, and it's in our state in Wisconsin in a
that's
little tucked away
crazy.
spot. I have
That's so
so many
wild.
videos, and every year it's different. Every year it's like a little, the pool's a little bit deeper. We saw a trout in it one year. My buddy sharpened a stick and tried to spear it. It didn't work. It was funny to watch.
Dude,
But,
dude, I got a hot tip. I got a hot tip on waterfalls. Hunting them.
oh,
Don't
interesting.
go.
Well, there's a lot of deer moving down there, by the way, so it's like a really effective kill spot too. We kill deer down there like every year.
Yeah, right. The number one tip is to not go chasing them.
Don't chase waterfalls. All right, TLC.
I hope
See what you did there.
you got it. It might go way over a lot of your audience's head.
Oh, I know it. I was
Number one,
raised by
number one tip on hunting waterfalls is you should not go chasing them.
don't go chasing 'em. I was
Dude,
raised mostly by
I had adult cousins that were females mostly, and TLC destroyed my early teen childhood years.
my mom raised me for a lot of my life, single mom style, and so lots of females in my life, all her friends, all her, and so, like, for me growing up, it was Pat Benatar, Mariah Carey,
Really.
Paula Abdul. Dude, I could jam the fuck out on all that '80s retro female song singer stuff. I know all of it. Yeah, Ace
All
of
that
Base.
female influence, and you still went chasing them.
I found that one. I didn't chase it. Just came upon me. I remember my dad and I scouted that area over a decade ago, and we were like, "Man, this is beautiful." It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of the country. Um, so
Hey,
half the
cheers.
time, yeah, cheers, man.
Cheers.
So the point is like, it really isn't about the kill. Sometimes it's about just taking in the damn scenery, and it's great to do so. I love it.
You know what my favorite part of deer hunting is after the kill. So for me, maybe it is the kill because I love afterwards. I love going and finding deer. I like editing them up. You know, edit them, cut them up, like get them cut up, get them back to the truck, get them. That part for me is stuff into the freezer, throw a pan with some butter and salt and garlic and pepper, dude, and just being like, one of my best friends growing up, his dad would always say, salt, pepper, and a shotgun. That's all you need. And I was like, maybe some olive oil or butter,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he only needed a salt, pepper, and a shotgun. But I got it. I get it. And I'm kind
I
of
love
there with him. But at the same point in time, I've been doing this long enough to just be selective. If I shoot 6 deer, I'd shoot 5 does and a buck. I have
Yeah.
2 buck tags. I wouldn't, try to shoot a second buck over a high quality doe. Dude, I got does over bros.
Yes, yeah. You can. Is there anything you want to talk? So we're well over the time we said we're going to do, which I knew was going to happen because I know who we're talking to here. Is there anything you want to talk about that's coming up that can be leaked, mentioned, talked about? Any future plans? Like again, I know we talked about what changed in the business from here to the last time we talked, if anything, other than I think you've been learning how to scale things operationally.
Trying to learn.
This is fucking hard, dude. I don't think people realize how hard.
Dude, I'm learning.
Hard. It's hard.
Listen. Now, can you hear the sirens?
I heard it. I heard a little bit.
It's pretty loud. Something's going down. Not
I'm
much
not hearing
goes
it
down.
as you are, but I heard it, but just not. It's not a big deal, so it's not going to affect anything other than you're distracted by it.
No, I can pull myself back.
He gets a police scanner.
First of all, I'll just say I'm appreciative for connecting with you here tonight. This was fun. We've been talking in the last couple weeks and pretty quickly scheduled the podcast. And I like that we kind of annually do this. It's fun. Look forward to it. It was great timing. Set it up and do it. As far as what's coming up, my season opens October 1st. Right now, it's like I said this morning, it was 47 degrees out, and I could feel it. I could feel it big time. I feel a crime wave coming was what I really feel with all these sirens. Now you could come on.
Oh yeah, now they're getting closer, man. They'll be coming to you. I don't know.
It's prominent.
Where's your kid playing? Is everything all right?
Yeah, no, he's in check. We live in a very this is uncommon for
as I understand.
We kind of live in the middle of nowhere, so something's going on around here locally. If I imagine, it's probably a fire. It's probably a fire. Because I thought I heard fire trucks a little bit ago, and that sounded like a police or EMS. So, my deer season opens October 1st. We've been talking a little bit here about getting excited for deer season, and I've been hesitant to get excited for deer season because my workload has been overwhelming. We've been working sometimes from 6 a.m. till midnight. So for everything that we do everything in house. We make that whole product, which is it's a 3-part product. We talked about the education. The branch catalyst is a synthetic deer lure that you can spray in the tree limb that will attract deer. It's 98% ineffective, inactive ingredient, a sweet, aromatic, all game attractant, honestly. Bear, deer, elk. I hunt in some elk country. Dude, the elk, they're there very quickly. If there was a market for elk lure, I should probably be in it, but we're not. Love it. Black bear like it, and whitetails love it. But that is the inactive ingredient. It's all game attractant, and then the active ingredient is about 2.5%, honestly, per volume of the final product. But it's a synthetic gland lure, specifically like a recreation of a tarsal gland, which is pretty much the most powerful and scent emitting gland of all, how whitetails communicate.
You can do a ruddy enough air, you can smell the tarsal glands. Fucking disgusting.
Yeah, people want to talk about quote unquote forehead gland. Like the forehead gland doesn't really even excrete. It is there. Like if it doesn't, the tarsal gland actually excretes.
Okay.
The orbital gland, the forehead gland, that makes sense in marketing because the deer, that's what they're rubbing on there. But their tarsal gland actually excretes. So it has the most highly concentrated scent. And, anybody that knows anybody that's ever actually taken like a fresh tarsal gland and drug it out and hung it in the tree in the rut.
My buddy's rubbed it on himself after killing a buck and fucking had one charge him. It was wild. It's a crazy story.
The deer I shot last year, his tarsal gland smelled so bad that if you were 20 yards downwind from him, I was like, is the meat gonna be good? He stinks so bad. He stinks like a garbage truck in July. He smelled so ruddy. And credit to my butcher, because I can't discredit the meat in any capacity. He did turn a lot of it into Italian sausage, but sometimes you do what you got to do. Sometimes some bucks deserve to be Italian sausage. But I can't complain about any of the meat, the back straps, or any of that. But I was literally smelling that deer and just being like, this is overwhelming. So that gland is, it's very powerful. So it only takes a small percentage of additive to a component to something that you can literally spray up into a licking branch that wasn't there. And so now you have this sweet smell that stimulates a food and that drive. And then you have that tarsal gland, the gland smell lure that stimulates that part of the brain. And if they come downwind of it, they're going to come check it out unless it's in a spot where you didn't set it up good. They're not comfortable doing it. And I said the real estate and the education is the first part, right? But then also we make a synthetic urine that's just a ammonia-based byproduct. You put it in the dirt. The only difference is it doesn't evaporate as quickly as urine or water. It has a additive in it that makes it not evaporate as quickly, gives it a little bit of a firmer substance than just a pure liquid. And so the scent and the scent is heavily concentrated. It's pretty intense, honestly. It doesn't take much of it at all. People are buying our products up in a lot more capacity than they need to. The stuff goes a long ways. You could do 1 ounce per location. We sell the package, the synthetic urine and the branch catalyst. It's 2 8-ounce cylinders for $39.99, so $40. And I think that'll set up, honestly, 8 spots.
Jeez, man.
So
And
you need 1 ounce unit per spot.
okay. I feel like there's just more to unpack here. Is the branch catalyst so that's different than the stuff you put on the ground?
Yeah, there's 2
Is that true?
8-ounce cylinders. There's 2 8-ounce cylinders in a kit. We'll call it a kit.
Okay.
Because when deer mark a scrape, they do 2 different things. They rub their face on the licking branch, which is, I would say, the highest priority because that's up in the scent carry. And, the does don't have the tarsal gland. Their urine profile is, I guess, a little bit. Remember, I started off saying about listening to that science-based podcast about how this one cycle actually triggers the other cycle. Like, they're actually finding scientific evidence, like, kind of get the party going. They leave a chemical trace in these scrapes that the does pick up on that triggers the does to go into heat. And this all happens like that, but they may be the initiating factor at a scrape. And there's some scientific evidence to bake it up. But don't have tarsal glands, but they use the licking branch to communicate. And so, young deer, does, especially if you're going to compare the sign to a rub, because only bucks rub. So does don't rub. So it's like a lower profile communication device. Although I've sprayed rubs down with branch catalyst and put cameras on them and signpost rubs, and it is definitely an effective way to hunt. Like during the rut specifically, the licking branch and the scrape is better because the does utilize it to communicate as well. But there's a synthetic urine, 8 ounces, and a synthetic branch catalyst that is, as described, sweet, aromatic, all game attractant with a synthetic glandular lure in it. And you spray that up into the branch, and you can reach your arm up and spray up high. Like, you do want that scent to carry. You can see it, dude. I've had some beautiful sunny mornings where the sun is low and it's coming through the woods, and you spray that stuff, and it's a very fine mist, and you watch it just carry through the woods, and and it actually does have a high sugar content, so it sticks to things. It's sticky. If you spray it and you're around it, it's sticky.
What,
So
dude, what What does your house
You-
smell like? Are you making this in your garage? You just smell like deer stuff all the time?
I have a shop. We have a shop that we operate out of, built off of the house. But yeah, sometimes I
But
go
I'm
to the
just
bar and
generally
people are
I'm
like,
just yeah. The fuck's this
"Yeah,
guy wearing for cologne? Smells like a damn
yeah,
tarsal gland. You just
hey, dude,
feel like
pheromones are real."
yeah, they
Do you
are.
do you know the
I
difference between
ads for
do you
commercials all the
do you
time for like, get this cologne and your wife or your girlfriend's really gonna fucking love it. I'm like, "Yeah,
that's
okay."
kind of
I
it's
wanna
kind of
try it.
bullshit.
I'm
But
sure it is. Something fun.
real pheromones are real. Some of that stuff's bullshit. But do you know the difference between a hormone and a pheromone? Because you know
What is it?
hormones are real.
Dude, I'm not gonna be able to remember the damn book, not even a little bit, but I read a lot, and this is a long time ago. I forget what book it was, but they did a study. Maybe it was The Social Animal by David Brooks. It talked about they did an experiment where I don't remember the controllables, but they basically in some desolate area had some dude on a bridge where females were running by all the time, and they did like different experiments where he was wearing cologne versus him just fucking being sweaty nasty as a male, and his pheromones are what are tangibly smellable, right? Or can that's my understanding of it. But the difference was the cologne worked for shit, and the just the general scent of the male
Ooh,
testosterone
male dominance.
what drew the females in, like literally. It was like I
Yeah.
forget how many, like they must have done like 100 different times of this experiment to determine that the pheromones were what really did it.
So it's a real thing for people that don't understand it. Understanding hormones, it's
Hormones are what make your wife crazy when she's pregnant and postpartum and all that.
it's chemicals within your body. There's chemicals within your
Yeah.
body, just like think of it as soil if you can farm. If you
Okay.
understand a little bit about farming, pH level. That's important for soil, right? Because that lets you know what nutrients can be taken in. Yeah, and then you need nitrogen, and you need potash, and you need phosphorus, and you need these temperatures. It's like chemistry. This equation all has to add up, and these are a lot of these are hormones that are within your body, and then you can produce those. So those hormones exist within your body. It's almost like your profile or your code. Like how those are established is a little bit who you are and how you operate as a person. Those are, and especially with animals, excreted out. Those profiles are excreted out through glands that animals use to smell. Why glands? Why do they have tarsal glands? They are taking their hormone profile, compacting it, and delivering it as a package to say, I'm a worthy mate. This is what I'm made of. When hormones are detectable outside of the body, they become pheromones. So, animals specifically, based on scent profile and their ability, this is why they can smell like they can. This animal can go leave their scent profile and it will literally give them the coding to who that partner is as a so when we talk about matriarch does and dominant bucks, like, dude, they're just like people, man. They're
Oh,
like
for real.
they're like, I'm checking you out. I'm looking at your bank account. You've never
Let me
been
yeah, let me
married.
let me just sum it up. The scrape, the community scrape is the swipe left, swipe right. It's the dating app of the deer woods for a deer. They're just
Yeah.
looking at
Yeah,
profile.
really. It's
They're
it used to be the local bar.
yeah.
Then it was like Facebook and MySpace. And
The
now it's
progression.
moved to what do you call it?
Yeah, well, now we have
What's it? What
DH3 dating app. I met my wife on a dating app. It was before dating apps turned into what the fuck they are
uh,
now. I can't imagine, but it was like
listen,
she's still my phone is Holly OK Cupid.
I've scientifically experimented if it works on women
Do you
because I
just
was like,
go out and
what
like
if?
bacon or
You know, it doesn't work. I don't think it works. I'm not convinced.
I don't know.
Nothing's changed.
I should find this fucking book that I read. I'm sure I could if I just like Googled the case study I'm talking about or the whatever, I'm sure I could find the book. Now I'm curious.
It works on deer. It works on deer though. You know,
Tony wants to know, where do you buy it? Tony
videos
wants to know
and
where.
the photos that we get that come in.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupt you because I think there's a little bit of lag.
Where do we
Tony
buy
said,
it?
where do you buy it? Because it's not Deer Hunter
D8
podcast. It kind of is. But yeah, thank you.
DHTHREE.com. DH3.com. Also, a partner of ours, Latitude Outdoors, carries the product as well. So DHTHREE.com or latitudeoutdoors.com. Or if you're in Mayo, Michigan, Osable River Outfitters is our only brick and mortar location that carries the product. I don't
How are they doing?
know that.
Are they moving it?
I don't know that'll ever change. Jordan Suswitz, good friend of mine. That's a world-class establishment there. He's their buyer and kind of runs the shop there. And he got our product onto the shelf, and I'm grateful for that. And it's kind of like a world-class experience to go there. And so, we carry it there, and we carry it at DHTHREE.com and latitudeoutdoors.com. That's where you can get it. And I pretty much, me and my wife are the ones behind the operation. So if you ever need anything, we do warranty our product. You'll find that I don't think that that's the case with, well, maybe, I don't know. I can't tell you that I've done my due diligence on how other companies in the space warranty their product. However, we do not expect our product to fail. Where some of the products in our market space fail at 100% rate in some capacity. There's value in marketing to people that are less educated. Like if you were here and you probably like the 1 or 2% that's like educated on these topics and these things, and it's not by accident. You came here for that reason, and to get some entertainment and to learn a little something. That's the biggest part of the whole thing. So yeah, there we go. Okayest Trapper podcast.
Jesus, finally worked.
I
don't
love
know
that.
what.
That's what I'm gonna listen to tomorrow.
You're gonna like it way
And
more
that's
than
my
this one.
you hear my
You're
that
like,
was my
"Oh,
northern
here."
Michigan Canadian tomorrow.
If you listen to Okayest Trapper podcast, you'll jettison the Okayest Hunter podcast like in a heartbeat.
You
Like,
need
well,
a Canadian, maybe.
we could use
You
a
have a
Canadian.
Canadian?
No, not yet. But we just started shipping to Canada, which is a new thing for us. I don't know if you've
That,
done that yourself, but it's a pain in the dick.
it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because someone sent me the I don't know what it was from. I feel like it was some like drug cartel series of the Hispanic, little bit overweight guy sitting on a swing in the backyard all by himself,
Oh
where it
yeah,
says,
that's
you're
the
lonely or whatever.
Narcos. That's the Narcos. Yeah.
Narcos. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And he said Canadians waiting for DH3, and I thought that was pretty
You have
funny
to
and
do a lot
clever.
of hoops with your. So we have a seat. We have an accounting firm that we employ or hire or whatever they do our shit, and we had asked them a year ago, how do we ship to Canada? And they're like, that's kind of complicated. And then like it didn't go. We like stopped. We didn't address it further. And then I was like, wait, we really need to figure this out, guys. Like, really, how do we ship to Canada? They finally like helped us figure it out, and we enabled it on Shopify. And because you could just turn it on and do it, but you're gonna have some pretty big implications from a liability standpoint for your taxes as a business. And so we had to like dot all those I's and cross those
That's
T's
a hard pass.
and then turn it on.
Hard
And
pass.
so we did. And so we got a lot of listeners and people that follow us from Canada that ask like weekly. We're getting asked. So finally, I'm like, boom, we can go fucking order it, guys. Hey, I'm talking about like go. Now I'm like patronizing them or something, but like make it happen, Captain. Like you do it. Yeah, I'm sure they do. I mean, I'm not that far from Canada in Wisconsin that I think I'm awarded the ability to speak that way, and it's okay. It's not offensive.
How about?
Yeah. It's like Logic, who can say the N word, but he's not, really of the descent. But he is, but he isn't, but he is, but he isn't. So, I'm not going
Yeah,
to go
that was a great similarity.
I can talk Canadian. It's okay. It's permissible. I'm kind of from there, but not really. But kind of, but not. Anyway.
Well, I guess
Well, dude, this is good.
To summarize, yeah, this is great. And I was just going to say, like, to summarize and wrap up, part one of our system, a 3-part station around it. So if you were here tonight, you know, you're way a step above. Put your coffee shops in on high traffic places. Be detailed about how you get in and out of them, and they're just going to produce for you year in and year out. And then loose lips sink ships. Keep your mouth shut. Don't tell your friends. Don't tell anybody. Send them in the other direction. Garhole them. We're in a time and a place where I get messaged more frequently about doing more detailed stuff, and it's really not what the direction that we're gonna go in. Like, leave me guessing. Let you figure it out. The matters too. Like, I can tell you how to bake the cake. I can give you the ingredient recipe, but you
But you
still
might
got
do
to
it
bake the
different.
cake.
Yeah, it still might turn out different.
Have you ever read a cookbook? Have you ever read a cookbook
A lot of
and
things are
then
open
like
to it.
made the thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I can't execute on that.
Funny stories about baking. I'm not going to get into. My wife she won't tell me. She won't say this, but she's an expert baker, but she's a perfectionist is the damn problem. So FYI update for my wife. Dane's doing better after another breathing treatment. They gave him more steroids, and he's probably going to get to leave soon. Waiting for chest X-rays. So there we go.
He's benching 135.
Dude, he's in
the waiting room. He's signing the release papers, and he's benching 135.
God, please watch over his brother and sister for the
What
next
kind of steroid do they give him?
I don't know, but
it's steroid.
Fucking psychotic when you give a 4-year-old steroids. I'm not saying he turns in like
psychotic when you give a 41-year-old steroids.
Mentally, he goes to another level. He's already operating at a different RPM, and you give him that, and he's redlining. He's just redlining all the time. So everything feathers the gas pedal just the slightest, and it's over indexing what should be allowed.
Yeah, well, be an adult and then add like 700 milligrams of caffeine daily to that and see what you get. Because I tore my rotator cuff.
Oh no, dude! I've fucked with that. I'm finally feeling better. I don't know if you've been following along in any capacity, but my left arm was wrecked. It's better.
Yeah, mine was wrecked too. So I got a steroid to assist in the muscle regrowth. And yeah.
Oh, Levi wants me to do work for him. Levi, my computer's a shit show, but also check out Western Territory podcast. Levi, who just commented, we have a network, guys, and I think you know this, and we're going to jump to your show next here. But Levi's a guide out in Wyoming of many, among other things. He's also just this great mountain man. Like, I love watching his podcast because he just smokes cigarettes. I don't know why I think that's funny because I don't smoke cigarettes. Like, it's just a different breed out there, you know, and I love him for it. And he's got lots of great bear stories, horror story, not horror, but horse, not horrors, horse, like the fucking
horses,
neigh, like a horse,
like neigh.
Yeah, horse stories.
Hey, do you know what do you know what gay horses eat?
Oh, hey, there it is. That's what it is. I know.
Is that like it's a dad joke now at this point? I think.
My dad told me a joke when I was a kid all the time. He's a garbage man.
Hey,
he said, do you know it has 8 wheels and flies? I'm like, no, I don't know. It has 8 wheels and flies. A garbage truck, because it has 8 wheels and there's flies around it. You got to think about the context of flies. Yeah, exactly. No, not cigarettes, cigars. I haven't smoked cigs in 2 years. All right, well, fine, Levi. Cigars it is.
Yeah.
Dude,
is backwoods okay, Levi? Because you got me thinking. I got backwoods right over here, and I was like, man, that sweet aromatic backwoods right now sounds actually pretty goddamn good.
Dude, if I smoke a cigar, I just salivate. I spit. I just start spitting like a fucking. Just slobber all over it.
Oh no, the Velociraptors weren't the spitters. What were the ones in Jurassic Park?
With the fans,
they spit. They spit the venom in your face. God, nobody knows, dude. They got nothing. They got totally snubbed by Velociraptors.
Oh yeah, what the fuck was I called? Damn it. I was obsessed with that shit when I was a kid too, of course. That and Mortal Kombat and everything else cool back in the day. But
Well, we really
Kevin,
hijacked this.
no, it's cool. It's normal. Thanks for being on the show tonight. I'm gonna bring this plane in for an immediate landing so we can switch over to your podcast and do the deer hunter stuff.
Yeah,
So
deal.
thanks for
Good,
being on the
great.
show, man. By the way, Kevin is also the host of the Deer Hunter podcast. If you don't know that, now you know.
Yeah, deerhunterpodcast.com, dh3.com, dhthree.com, deerhunter_podcast on Instagram. That's 98.9% of my social media is on Instagram. I appreciate the fact Eric's such a hustler. He's on like everything and everywhere. We're on
LinkedIn right now. Right now, this is coming to LinkedIn actively.
Never am I going to be able to be accepted back into the corporate world. Thank you. Now that I'm going to have a link, Eric will have waiting for my profile. It's all documented. Anyway, anyhow, we're on Instagram, a little bit on Facebook, but for the most part, yeah, deerhunterpodcast.com, weekly show. We're there 98% of the time. You can rely on us. 98% of the time, we'll be there every week.
And just to
I love it. A
Tony,
Dilophosaurus?
that's what it
Is he
is.
for real? Dude,
Thank
we need somebody to fact check it.
Fact check that. I don't have a fact checker here. I got no one else in the studio with
You
me.
got AI. You need like an AI Jamie.
I probably could figure that out, but I'm not going to do it.
What is the Dilophosaurus?
Hey Siri, what's a Dilophosaurus? Which phone's going to activate? Oh, the old one. The new one's up. Oh, come on, tell it to me. Is a genus of theropod dinosaurs that lived in what is now known as North America during the early Jurassic period, 106 million years ago. That doesn't fucking help me. I want to know if it spit venom. The most complete specimen became. Fuck you, Siri. That's your answer.
Ask it what dinosaur spit venom.
Hey Siri, which dinosaur spit venom? There's no conclusive evidence that any dinosaur possessed poisonous saliva. Fuck.
Our whole child's a lie.
Siri's just crushing fucking childhood dreams of the millennials.
Do you want me to top it off and we'll go?
Yeah, go for it.
I got an emergency call about a month back about a bathroom leaking on a Sunday night. And I asked the customer, I said, because he was like the housekeeper, property manager. He's a property manager. Okay. I said, do they have another bathroom that they can use for the night? Because it sounds like the drain. I said, if they don't use the shower, it's not going to leak. Do they have another bathroom? And he said, yeah, they have, I think they have 5. No, they have 6 bathrooms. So I said, yeah, they could probably make it until the morning. And when he called it in, it was some production company. Well, it turns out it was Tim Allen. Tim Allen's one of Tim Allen. Tim Allen. Tim the Toolman Taylor.
You guys,
he had a leak. He had a leak on his drain, and he called it in on a Sunday night on an emergency. And I happened to be recording a podcast when I had to take the phone call, so I followed up with a buddy and told him the next day. And we have the text exchange. I just thought it was funny because he's like, God, our whole childhood's a lie, dude. Tim the Toolman Taylor's calling in because he's got water coming through his ceiling.
Dude, he's grandfathered out of that. He's a wow, I can't say words. Paper pusher now, right? Like he's not in the weeds anymore. He's made it. He isn't there.
Yeah, that's fair. He's worked himself out of the field, huh?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Still, though, to have Tim the Toolman Taylor calling you on a Sunday night to come fix something, it was a little disheartening. I thought he would have got in there a little bit. Maybe at least threw a ladder up, cut the ceiling open to see what was leaking. I can wait till the morning. I can wait till the morning, Jill.
Dinosaurs
That's not how it went down.
And the Toolman Taylor doesn't fix his own problems. Good to know.
It was just the interesting thing that happened here to me in the last month. So anyway. Yeah, well, this is happening again where we're it got dark and we're losing light, and I'll sneak back. sneak back in here into the camera. But yeah, what do you want to do? We'll drop this off, and I'll call you on my end, and we'll keep going.
Well, yeah, depending on how you do things, we could just stay here and let it rip, or we could
Deal.
call me on my
I'm
phone.
gonna turn some lights.
Whatever you want to do. All right, I'll mute
turn some
you.
lights
I'll
on.
mute me. I'll let the music fade it out, and you all have a good night. Enjoy the episode, or whatever.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good deer season.
Joining us. See you.
See you.